How's it going, everyone? It is Only here. Welcome back to another video as always. So Far Cry 5 is a game that I definitely want to talk about because I actually have different opinions than I thought I was going to have going into the game. Now, it's not completely positive, it's not completely negative, there's like some in between I have with this game, so I haven't fully beat the game, about like I believe one half through the game, because the game's pretty much divided between like 3 sections of the map with like different rulers in them, and I've pretty much taken out one and I'm close to beating out the second. So I'm a decent chunk into the game. I think I'm close to like 10 to 15 hours in the game, and I figured I'd go over my thoughts on the game because I pretty much already have a verdict on this game, and I don't see it changing because really it's an open world game. So what I'm playing right now is pretty much what's going to be for the rest of the game. So a lot of people had questions. I've been getting a lot of questions in particular about people talking about Far Cry 5, saying, oh, they loved 3, they weren't the biggest fan of 4, they liked 4, will they like 5, what's different, what's new, what's the story like. So I figured I'd kind of go over that just for those people that were actually wondering my thoughts on the game as a whole. So I figured I'd just have a complete video just out there for you guys. This is what I think of Far Cry 5. So I want to start about the characters and kind of like the story, because that's kind of like the biggest thing going in for the game that I was kind of questionable about. That's the thing I wanted to know more when I was playing the game. So pretty much this is what I think about the story. The story is at a weird spot because there's got to be a mix between agency and an open world game, and having those one-on-one encounters with these villains just like Far Cry 3 and 4 did. Now the way they do these like kind of encounters, there's a lot of them in the game. You get to see the villains quite a bit. They definitely have a lot more screen time than some of like the other villains in Far Cry games, I believe. But the way they do them is kind of odd because it is an open world game. Everybody's going to be doing different stuff. They're going to be at a different place. Pretty much without spoiling it, when you're in these sections and you destroy enough property or you do enough to like upset the ruler in the kingdom, there's like these little dots on like their outline of XP, and pretty much once you hit it, they're pretty much gonna like come after you and gun you down and capture you pretty much. So pretty much you'll be doing anything in an open world game, and when you hit that, they're pretty much going to be on you, and you're going to get shot down, and you're going to pretty much go unconscious, and they're going to capture you, and then you'll get into these weird situations. It's at a very awkward part because, they want to mix agency with these kind of like, 1v1 encounters or these personal encounters with these villains like Far Cry is always known for. So don't go into the story expecting anything big. I mean, your character's a mutant itself, so the characters itself, I'd say they're better than 4 easily, and they're not terrible, but they're not like as good as 3 as I remember, and it's definitely, I'd say disappointing, honestly, because the story there's nothing in the story. The characters are mediocre, I'd say, and overall you're playing this for the gameplay. It's just clear that after 3, Ubisoft just more is approaching co-op and explosions and gameplay rather than the story that you went through as Jason in Far Cry 3, so, it is what it is. If you like Far Cry for the gameplay, that's pretty much what they're addressing you for. I will say the Seed family as a whole was a lot more bigger than I kind of thought. I thought it was just this one father guy, but there is quite an extensive, family and the kind of situation here, and it is very clear why you're taking him down, obviously. So, it is simple, but it is, it works, I guess you could say. So, the story, I mean, I could see people finding interest in it, but to me, I'm not really that much invested. I'm just playing it for the gameplay, and I think that's what everybody else will be, Now, the setting in the open world is kind of like the part I was talking about in terms of what made this game different and why I have a different opinion than I thought going in. Montana, I just absolutely love the locations. Far Cry 4 went out for like a more Himalayas kind of vibe, and, there's so much verticality in the map. This is more plains, this is more forest, this is more modern day America in a way, out in the Midwest. I don't know, I just like it. There hasn't really been a game that's really set in modern Midwest, at least that I know of, and it's really cool just driving around the world. Planes are now in this game. I just really like Far Cry 5 for the exploration of the map. There's not as much UI. It feels a lot more natural in terms of, discovering new things. You got to talk to people. If there's one thing I like about Far Cry 5, it's the minimalistic UI and exploring the world and all these new vehicles. Far Cry 4 had the one helicopter, if you want to even call it a helicopter. It was like a one-seater thing. This, they opened it up a lot more. There's a lot more planes, there's a lot more helicopters, there's a lot of cool land vehicles than I've seen in other Far Cry games. Exploration this time, I like it a lot, and I just love exploring the game. Whenever you're out there, you're going to find something new. It kind of reminds me of Breath of the Wild in a way that there's a little bit minimalistic, UI. Of course, it's still like a Ubisoft open world game. They did get rid of the towers, which is something nice, so you're not going to be climbing something, opening up part of the map. It's just pure on exploration. If you're driving out there, you're going to unlock part of that map, and if you're finding new things out there. I played like 10 hours. I mainly stuck in like the first, section. Now I'm getting into the second section. There's still stuff I haven't done in the first section I want to go back to. There's a lot to this open world, and I just feel like it's very unique. It very has its own vibe to it that any Far Cry game hasn't really seen before. Going to this, I thought it was going to be like Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 for sure, but this has like its own legs, and it feels like a different Far Cry game than you've ever seen before. You know, from your character not speaking to the world being a lot more different than a usual Far Cry game, and overall who the enemies are, it's just a very different Far Cry game, and it doesn't even feel like a Far Cry game besides the gameplay in a way, but it works well, and I love the world for that, and it's probably like the saving grace for this game alongside the gameplay. I don't know what it is, I just like modern Midwest, I think it's unique, and I just love the setting that Far Cry 5 went out for. You know, it never gets old, just driving through a forest, knocking down trees, and just dodging the big ones, and just, you know, getting away from opponents that way. Or, you know, exploring the scenic route with a helicopter, and looking over, you know, the Midwest. It's really cool, I like it a lot. Alright, so I'm going to go into the gameplay a little bit. You know, there's nothing really to talk about the gameplay. It's pretty much wrapped up from Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4. Any game post Far Cry 3 pretty much stuck with the same formula. And I guess they do that because it kind of works. Everybody expects that from a Far Cry game. You're playing it for the gameplay, really. You know, there's something about the Far Cry formula of, you know, running and gunning or using the bow and arrow and going in silently. It's the same kind of formula that you've seen from other games with outposts and everything, taking out how you want to play. I will say the AI, a lot of people have mixed feelings about it. I think the AI enemy is very weak, but I do have to say the co-op companions, at least personally, I found a little bit better than usual games. Now, I've seen also people say that they don't like the AI companions, but to me, I've noticed that the AI, for the most part, has been a little bit better with, like, striking natural conversations with each other if you have, like, two AI buddies. It just feels very natural in a way, and just a lot of conversations going on, as well as there was, like, a moment where I was about to die, I turned around, there's, like, two guys, like, gunning at me. And one of my AI companions just like guns them down from a helicopter right as they're about to kill me. And actually did work and doesn't just weaken them or doesn't give you ammo. They actually kill enemies for you or help you out. Not in a way that carries you, obviously, but in a way that actually feels like, you know, it's a good substitute for having an online buddy. Obviously not fully, but it does feel like they are, you know, it does feel like it works, and it does feel like, I don't know, personally, to me, I like the AI companions more than, you know, most games actually out there, and I feel like the AI definitely feels a little bit stronger than at least Ubisoft games for sure. You know, of course, with Ubisoft, or any open world game for that matter, there are always going to be, like, those goofy moments with the AI, but that's to be expected, but overall, you know, I don't know, I was kind of impressed by that. It's a little thing, I guess. So yeah, I'm really interested in playing more Far Cry 5. I'm definitely intrigued. It's just definitely a game where it's like a mindless game where you just turn off your mind, approach the missions how you want. Now that there's like new planes and helicopters, it really feels like a big sandbox open world to approach the encounters you want. You know, you can go in with the helicopter and skydive to the roof and take out enemies quietly with the bow, or, you know, you can kind of pretty much just blaze right through the missions with your assault rifle with like a co-op buddy, and, you know, if you're good in that way, use your gun. It's really cool, and it's definitely the biggest, you know, open world Far Cry game I believe there is. It just feels like, you know, everything is kind of expanded upon, you know, maybe not for quality, but at least for quantity, and it's just clear that they're going for that way. So I will say Far Cry 5 overall, verdict wise, it depends on who you are. If you liked 4, if you liked 3, personally, I loved 3. I played like an hour or two of 4. I absolutely couldn't stand it, really. But what I'm finding from with Far Cry 5, it is like the first Far Cry game since 3 that I'm enjoying. It's not as good as 3, obviously, but I mean, it's easy to top Far Cry 4 and Primal, honestly, but it does feel like a substantial release. This isn't like Prime, this isn't like 4, in my opinion. This feels like an actual step up from Far Cry. Not in terms of gameplay, of course, but in terms of feeling like it's doing something different, and it's like the next evolution of what they want to do with Far Cry in a way. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you like Far Cry gameplay or not, that's pretty much going to be the main deciding factor. If you like Far Cry, buy this game. If you don't like Far Cry, honestly, I would just wait or not touch this at all. It is the same kind of Far Cry formula that you know and love, or that you know and hate, depending on who you are. There's not much that has changed, really. I guess the only thing that can, like, intrigue you like it did to me is if you like the new setting. It is pretty cool. But as I said, it is, like, a substantial release. This isn't like Primal where they just copied and pasted 4 or something. It is actually a different Far Cry game. It is different, and it is, like, its own entry in a way, which I was kind of worried about. So yeah, that's been pretty much my thoughts on Far Cry. I'm looking forward to playing some more. I will actually get through Far Cry 5. I'm pretty sure about that. You know, Far Cry 4 I never even beat because there's just a lot to the game, and I just really didn't care for what the game was doing. So yeah, Far Cry 5, it's up to you whether you get it or not, and that's pretty much my thoughts on the game so far, being about a little over 10 hours in. So yeah guys, I guess as always, I want to thank you guys for sticking through the whole entire video. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe if you are new, and of course, I've been online. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.